Welcome CFS community to our design panel, exploring the topic of inclusivity by design. With this year's Circular Fashion Summit theme being Redesigning Society, this panel will explore the fundamentals of design, whilst exploring how fashion brands can approach inclusivity in product conception and in the development stage.
This panel discussion will be moderated by Stephanie Thomas, founder at Curatable, a speaker and a writer. Take it away, Stephanie.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Thomas, and I want to welcome you to Inclusivity by Design. Now, before we get started jumping into this incredible panel this morning, I want to consider any low vision or blind audience members that are participating and joining the conversation by listening this morning. Morning for me, and as you'll find out, different times for everyone else on the panel. So I am a Black woman with medium brown skin, part in the middle with my hair, and I have medium length braids. I'm wearing a velvet black jacket, and I am wearing a black tank underneath. And that way, you'll also see, for those that are looking at me, my microphone is in the screenshot, and I'm sitting in an audio room, so you'll see some audio padding on the walls. So I'm going to start with Diana. Can Diana Marian Murick of Istituto Marigani? How's that, Diana?
Hello, Stephanie.
It's okay.
It's good. It's Istituto Marangoni.
Okay.
But it was quite good, huh?
Okay.
And, so shall I start with my description?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm a Caucasian woman, and I have blonde, short, messy hair. I'm wearing black glasses and a black kimono, and I'm in my office in Milan, which is very black, also black and white grayish, and with a picture frame behind me, and some design object on the side.
Okay. And Blaj, let's go to you. Can you tell us a little bit about your appearance and your background?
Okay, hello, my name is Błażej, and at the moment I am in my room in Warsaw. I live in Warsaw. I am a disability person with 2 prostheses of legs. I'm very proud of this, and I like to show my disabilities and my prostheses to other people. I'm also a very active person I'm excited to be here, and my passion is boxing. I like to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. Min. Okay.
I'm a Asian guy, and I'm in Beijing, and it's 1 a.m. now, so I'm in my home. I have a short hair, and you can see I'm in my room, and very lights behind me, and a mirror on left of me. Okay, that's my place. And also I'm wearing a necklace which designed by myself. It's blue, so I love my necklace.
Yes, thank you so much. Leanne.
Hi, so I'm a white queer female. I'm sitting here in a Caitlin Price leotard, very sporty. I'm in the pitch dark black because it's 4 p.m. and we're in London and there's never any light here. I've got some quite ridiculous Balenciaga shades on that have got a terrible reflection from the light, so you might continually see that. And I've got a cute red lip on as well to go with my leotard. And I also have long hair, not that you can see it because it's too dark.
Io sono Roberto, abito a Milano, io ho I capelli biondi, una maglietta blu, e dietro di me sul muro c'è un bel quadro.
So I want to just jump into this conversation. And Diana, when you think of inclusivity and when you think of design, it's a term that changes. It changes with the zeitgeist, right? It would have to. But in fashion education, like for instance, 5 years ago, I think that the term inclusivity would have been very different from the way it's defined today. What are your thoughts on, the global education system with regards to inclusivity? Global, but, very local. How is that defined today, in your opinion?
Well, yeah, at Istituto Marangoni, our educational system is actually based on a faculty that works within the current industry. So they're industry professionals who bring the current knowledge and skills directly from the industry in the classroom. And therefore, everything that changes in the industry is practically brought into the classroom directly. So every changes, as for example, the changes of the meaning of inclusivity, which of course have changed in the last years, and there's so much more attention today to it than it was before, that has been directly mimicked. But also on the other hand, as a school, we are preparing students to be in the industry in the next 1 to 3 years. So actually we have to be a few steps ahead always, because their knowledge has to be current in that time frame. And so we have to also be future facing.
Absolutely. If I had to ask one specific area of inclusivity that you are seeing now that is really standing out to you as this is where we're going, what would that be? Like, is it with body types? Is it with, ethnic inclusivity? What are you seeing overall?
Well, yeah, we being in Milan and in a city that is, of course, one of the fashion capitals, body inclusivity is always a big question mark, or a big issue, let's say, or a way how we can actually adapt within the times, because since ever there was a question about body inclusivity in terms of shapes, but also in terms of diversity. So we have seen a quite evolution in the past 5 years where the catwalks have become very much diverse, and that also reflects our student body, I must say, because you must know that in our school here in Milan, we are currently having 107 different nationalities in the school, and therefore it is something that comes naturally to us to have a diverse and therefore also inclusive classroom where different nations come together, different ideas, different upbringings, different cultural thoughts, and cultural richness actually is brought to the table. And this is like super interesting. Even when we do like industry projects with industry that come in and do projects with our students, what they are super interested in is not only to talk to Gen Z and have like their insight and really to know like how to approach the market, for example, within this target group, but also to have like opinions from China, India, South America within one conversation. So inclusivity very much with us is first of all the diversity of our own classroom.
Well, I really love that. It's like you've set the stage to have diverse conversations just because that's your ethos. That's the culture of the Institute. That's wonderful. Blaž, let's talk a little bit about your experience as a person with a disability and, someone that is very interested in boxing and a model. What does it mean to you when you hear the term inclusivity in fashion in general? What does that mean to you?
I'm in a modeling agency since 1 year, so I'm starting a new thing and try something new, and I'm very happy to try a new thing. And so far, disability persons were invisible for brands and for this inclusivity, and I like that my generation, the Gen Z, is fighting for this inclusivity, and we're changing the reality, and the more and more people see us, and this more and more these people with disabilities can be part of brands, fashion, and I like this thing.
I think that's very interesting. When I was reading about what you're doing with boxing, that's also trailblazing, because I don't know very many double amputee boxers. So how have you been able to take your experience into this sport?
It was very hard to me, because after my accident, I had to learn again how to walk on prosthesis. Yeah, but I didn't give up, and I had a really hard time with rehabilitation. And this box is very a very good exercise for me to do my walking better. And this is very difficult to do, boxing, to stand and at the same time punching, but with every next training I can do better.
Yeah, I think that you live inclusivity, and I think every road you take, I think I read before that you were involved in another sport. Every time you do something different, you challenge that world to see you as a person that has that interest. And I think that that's important at the core of inclusivity, because we tend to judge people on just exterior things. But I am a firm believer that education happens through interaction. Now, you grew up with not one, but two tailors, your father and your grandfather. What are the fundamentals of great design? And even though they're fundamentals, some people seem to think that fundamentals should and do change. What are your thoughts about that?
Sono stato fortunato a crescere in una famiglia che si occupava di sartoria, ma la differenza è sicuramente la passione. Infatti ho altri due fratelli cresciuti anche loro proprio come me in un clima sartoriale tra modelli, tessuti, ma nessuno di loro si è mai interessato a questo mondo. Direi che quindi non dipende solo dal contesto in cui si cresce, ma anche e soprattutto da una passione spontanea per qualcosa. Sicuramente sono stato molto fortunato a crescere in una famiglia di sarti, mi ha dato un talento, un'inclinazione naturale per questo mestiere. Contemporaneamente la passione per il couture e la moda sono stati fondamentali per farmi arrivare dove sono oggi. Fondamentalmente per creare comunque un perfetto disegno ci vuole una base scolastica, una base di una formazione che ti rimane dentro e ti porti dietro tutta la vita.
Men, let's talk with you a little bit about inclusivity and the beautiful work that you're doing with creating, living art. Before I saw the Vogue article on your work that you're doing with the influencer, I'm going to let you tell that story, but I actually started following her. I mean, it's just, the work is outstanding. I know it was just a project, but I think you've helped open the minds of so many people. So talk a little bit more reveal what I'm talking about.
Actually, thank you so much, Stephanie. And because in half years ago, we made several sets for the girl Xiaoyang. His name is Yang Jia, and she has a prosthetic leg, and she also a journalist and a fashion blogger. So we made several sets of processes for her. And I also gave the photo to Daniel. If you like to see, he will show for me. And for that, I think this project is very important for us, because for me, it's my motivation that my design and creation can give people more choices, no matter which group they belong to. So first time I met Xiaoyang in her hometown, and I asked her why most of the photos she's showing is from 1 year ago. And she told me because she just have new processes like 1 year ago, and the new one is have a shape like more have muscle. It's not like old one. It's only have a metal tube. I suddenly noticed that it's sometimes Xiaoyang don't want to show the processes. It's not because of its processes. It's because it's not a process she like.
Right.
So, I'm a jewelry designer. In some way, jewelry is kind of useless. It's more like a tag. It can be wearing, keep you warming. It's just like your tag. So I feel I can design something and make something she need. It's made me very happy. So at first place, I think sometimes like Xiaoyang loses part of her body, but she also gets some new possibilities. We want to emphasize this kind of possibilities through this project.
I want to personally thank you as a stylist exclusively for people with disabilities, because even though there are brands like All L's that they do great work with prosthetics, but I don't think that they have ever considered what your project considered was, how can we make sure that this does not harm the wearer in a way that, from what I read in the article in Vogue, that it was causing a bit of problems. So thank you for that. And I can't wait to see what your work has inspired. Now, as a pattern maker, what does inclusive design mean to you?
Mettersi completamente a disposizione delle persone. Il modellista sartoriale lo fa quotidianamente con il su misura, seguendo ogni particolarità del cliente, adottando il modello alla sua fisicità, perché non c'è modello, non c'è abito che non possa essere costruito per calzare a pennello su ogni singolo corpo.
Leanne, democratization. That's what every article and everything that I was reading, I was like, okay, I have to ask her about this because it's definitely an important theme in your work, not only as the CEO, founder, co-founder of the Institute of Digital Fashion, but as the founder of Commune East. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, you got it good, yeah.
Okay, and so what does democratization mean to you, and how does it relate to inclusivity and product conception and development? I know that's a mouthful, but I just feel like from what I read, this is really something that's really important to you.
I feel like for us, the work that we're doing is, we're working in digital. We're the Institute of Digital Fashion, and we talk about the IRL and the URL worlds and these realities, how they should work in unison. A lot of us think that we're kind of negating the physical world as soon as we talk about digital. And the fashion world is very elitist. It struggles with inclusivity and diversity. So when we founded this institute, we really wanted to be an emblem for change, to really shake that up. And digital obviously really has the potential to do that. There's no front row at a digital fashion week. Everybody can view and be a part of it. You can be not only be front row, but experience it within it. So when it comes to design, I think the work that you talk about is actually, as we step into this metaverse, I suppose the responsibilities that are needed, i.e. if you're creating digital versions of oneself, then it has to go back to the root, which is the software companies, the individuals that have the tools that you're using to create those avatars and that functionality. And within that, we found there was lots of program bias because predominantly the tech space is owned and built by cis white men. So we really decided to put a stake in the ground and say, right, we want to educate. So we have an IRL, URL Academy, which is about education in digital, but also ask some big questions about who effectively the responsibilities as we step into this digital universe and the metaverse. There are responsibilities not to fall into the quite dark and like quite painful at times past that fashion incubates. Fashion is about fantasy. It's not about mirroring our reality. So we've been working with software companies, and we produced the world's first non-binary asset, which is a digital avatar. Prior to that, you couldn't, because the software saw it as a malfunction, put even a femme clothes on a masculine body. And that's how imprinted it is. The softwares are locked into these functionalities, which are programmed by the individuals that are making them. So our work is really about how we can ask big questions to those, to those companies. And obviously now we've had the big white colonial flag of Facebook has been, put in the sand of the metaverse. So, I mean, that's a bigger conversation. But for us, it is about asking questions and finding solutions, and not cancel culture, but really talking about some of the pain points that the fashion industry incubates, and making it much more about representation and not characterization.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said the pain points, and you're absolutely right. I've just recently transitioned Curatable to a fashion tech company, and we're creating software to find solutions for dressing with disabilities.
Amazing.
So, I understand pain points. I understand training the model. And what do you guys think about the idea of disruption in the fashion industry and pain points? We've been talking about this since before late 2019, but I think 2020, there were all of these conversations online. Do you think that they're pain points? I just want to know your individual thoughts. And as fashion consumers, as fashion professionals, what are your thoughts about that? I'm going to start with you, Diana, and get your perspective, because as an academic administrator, your perspective may be a little bit different. I'm interested to hear what you think.
No, listen, Stephanie, as an academician, really, we are also academic researchers on a certain level. A part of my faculty submits papers of research and so on. So the discussion, the discourse should always be there. We have lectures that are called Future Fashions or Current Issues in Fashion. So of course, this is all discussed, and the discussion must be there, and actually disrupting also the minds of our students. We love that, because only when you are confused, and also when certain status quos are questioned, there's actually the area where the magic can happen. And I found also really interesting what Leanne was saying about navigating or questioning. Again, me too. Of course, cancel culture is like something that we don't want to get into, but questioning, yes, because fashion, and even more the luxury segment of it, is of course based on exclusivity. Something is exclusive, right? So how to navigate that against inclusivity? So that has to do with many things. That can even start with me educating with my faculty the classroom to be inclusive, to be a safe space where students can explore and make mistakes and so on. And then what happens to them when they go into the industry and will encounter this exclusive world, maybe a toxic work environment that we know about and that we listen also lately in the news about. And you know what, I'm sometimes asking myself, how inclusive should I be in the classroom when then I have actually to send them out? We are investigating it all the time. How do we prepare our students for like kind of both things? And that's just by starting the discussions. So yeah, disruption is important, and talking about it, and the discussion is always the way where it starts. And that can be, as you know, Stephanie, I was for the last 4 years before returning to Milan in India, Mumbai. And there you can imagine how much of our work is about work situations of people living wages, the situation of women design in the society and so on. So of course you cannot change everything, but the change always starts with question, and it always starts with also a disruptive point of view, and then we go from there. But our industry needs that, our education needs that. So yes.
And it also starts with leadership. And I sit in a lot of rooms, and a lot of people in academic spaces and in fashion spaces are not open to. So that speaks to what you bring to the table. That speaks to your desire to be disruptive and to make sure that your students are prepared for the future. And like you said, having faculty members that are also in the industry is so valuable, because they know what they would be looking for in hiring. They know what they need. So I just don't want to leave out your leadership and how that impacts the work that your faculty and what your students learn, because everyone is not so open to that. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Stephanie. If I might add also, because I liked also, I come back to Leanne, when you were talking about vocabulary, like language is so important. And your first question also was, you know, how inclusivity has changed. It changes also how we use words in our lives, in publications, in the classrooms. So vocabulary is like really the first thing, I think, to start to change our perception and change our reality. So vocabulary is really an important word.
I think that's a great segue back to Blaj, because Blaj, you talked a little bit about people with disabilities just not being in the public space. And so how has language and even just the overall lexicon around disability changed in your knowledge? And you may not have, it's not something I'm looking for like professional knowledge, but just how people have talk about and respond to disability in your mind. What's your experience?
So my experience is like in Poland, many of people don't know about problem with disability person because in Poland, disability persons are hiding in home. They are scary to show up with themselves. So this knowledge about people with disabilities is small. Okay, but for example, I have my company which produce my prosthesis is in Germany, and in Germany this is a normal situation, and people on the street, in the shops, I am normal person with them. Okay, yeah. I don't very specific like in Poland, because in Poland when I wear short pants, everyone look at me, because this is something new and because they don't know about this problem very much.
Right. And what's very interesting to me, and I'm going to ask this question, I ask it with every panel I speak to, and I'm going to see if I'm proven wrong. Can anyone on the panel, before we get to you men, tell me about the course in university or in any portion of your education where you learned about disability? Like you learned about disability as a culture, or was there any time in your educational experience that you learned about disability?
I would say not in my formal education, but my education being like my world around me. My first like real moment was when I was privileged enough to walk on a catwalk, and I was like the only individual. I felt that I was with superheroes, and I felt like I shouldn't have been there. And it was like one of the most wonderful experiences to walk on a catwalk and to have just a sea of individuals with every single person. I was pregnant at the time, so that was my superpower, I suppose. But
you suppose that's a whole human you're carrying. Yes, that's a definite superpower.
I'll take that. But it was just so wonderful to not only walk, but also sit alongside and spend 2 days with the stories, the energy, and it was just absolutely inspiring. And it really did. I felt like I was stepping into a new world that, exactly as you said, that I only understood like the tip of the iceberg. You know, what you were saying about being invisible, it was like a moment where everyone was empowered, and that just really put the fire up, like what we were doing, thinking about like our work, because it is something that shouldn't be invisible, because it's part of like human nature, you know?
Yeah. And Min, thank you so much for that, Leanne. I want to say, Min, when I looked at the contrast in what your company Normal produces, it's very dainty and very, it's just such a contrast to the prosthetic actual, not case, but the prosthetic, I call it jewelry in my mind. I have been. So now I'm trying to find the way that how would you talk about it? This is how I've been saying it in my mind. How would you talk about it?
Actually, as my work, we are trying to do something like you have seen in the website. We're normally not like a traditional jewelry brand. Mm-hmm. We don't use much of like diamond or some gold. For my mind, the materials is serving for the option of serving for the ideas. For the what you think. So the value of the jewelry is what you think, and it is. Like I want to show this jewelry, like because I want to, I'm not some this jewelry brand is have do something I agree with. It's like what we want to do. It's not just like I sell you some diamond, I sell you some gold like this. So we are always trying to find some new materials and some new way to wearing jewelries. It is what we are doing.
So may I ask you something? What part does sustainability play in the way that you're designing your jewelry?
Actually, for us, we are trying to not push people to buy too much of our jewelries. I think they only have one is enough. So we never do something like the please buy the jewelries or something like that. And we try to avoid some waste on the production. Like we just use kind of materials. It's made by cocoon, it's like normally it's used for the like lunchbox or something.
Oh, okay.
But nobody use it for the jewelry box. But we think it's the point. It's not because the material is not fit. It's just not good design. So we change the outside and make it fit with like our jewelry brand, and the people will feel no feeling with it. They will not remind, oh, it's a lunchbox. They're wow, it's different jewelry box. It's like that.
Yeah, I really like that. And I'm going to jump to you, Leanne, because one of the quotes I read in an article where you were saying, we don't want to be the fast fashion. Digital fashion isn't fast fashion. We're not trying to replicate basically what was done, what's being done, IRL. We're not trying to duplicate it. We're trying to blow that up and do something different. Can you talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, so I think our key thing is like, let's sell creativity, not more clothes. Nobody, what you were saying, Min, right? Nobody needs more things, but creativity, we're all creatives. People want to express themselves, and creatives want to be part of that journey. And I think that self-expression is the key, and then also kinship as well. So which is like brand heritage and, uniting that vision. And for us we really believe in that. But we also are absolutely aware of the fact that, the fashion industry, another black mark is sustainability over production. We're in a capitalist structure, so buy more. So how do you disrupt that? So we're really trying to, with digital, on so many levels. We work very much from the studio floor with the creatives to the shop floor through to retail, and thinking in ways in which you can ignite your audience and your customer and bring it into your brand universe without it's telling the story more and bringing them into that universe through augmented reality, through virtual reality. But I'll say on a practical level, like how do you disrupt a system that's ingrained in buying more? Well, I suppose the power with digital is that if you have a digital asset from afar, that can be a brand can upload and renew the asset seasonally. So you can have a new drop, which explores again another season or transition, or you, the customer or the audience. I hate using the word consumer because it feels so like, it's just such a dirty word, isn't it?
Customer, right?
Customer, yeah. We'll say customer. For us, it's about exploring that with digital. You also have the power you have live feedbacks with data and analytics. So you can actually build a relationship with the customer, and that can be a creative one. You can build a vocabulary together. And that's what's super interesting about digital, is the potential for collaboration and bespoke elements within digital fashion, but also just being able to explore more and really shift some of the thinking and basically with COVID, the semantics of fashion changed. And I feel that was a really big point in the timeline of fashion. Everything stopped, production stopped, people stopped buying, we were all paused in our lives, and everyone really contemplated actually the point of fashion. So it was really wonderful to see lots of brands and emerging designers really leading this quite articulate notion of what is the point of fashion right now. And so we're kind of trying to lasso that and really explore what is the point of fashion and bring it into a digital space where it's more inclusive, it's more diverse, and it's much more sustainable. So that's really where we kind of align.
Roberto, you have a quote: "Working with passion is the key to achieve successful goals." But what keeps you passionate about your work and your goals through tough times? And what would you say to someone that was passionate about the fashion industry, but as of late or recently, they've become a little bit discouraged? What would you say to them?
Quello che mi appassiona di più di questo lavoro è la sfida quotidiana e continua per trovare nuovi stili, con nuovi materiali, con nuove forme, con nuove lavorazioni, ed ogni stagione è sempre diverso. Questo io lo trovo entusiasmante. Sicuramente non ho mai la possibilità di annoiarmi. A chi si sente scoraggiato posso dire che questi momenti di sconforto possono capitare, certi momenti possono capitare. È vero che la situazione che il mondo sta vivendo negli ultimi 2 anni ha creato grosse incertezze nel mondo della moda. Tanti di noi hanno dovuto fermarsi e aspettare il ritorno alla normalità, ma finalmente, forse speriamo, il momento della ripresa è arrivato. La moda ha trovato nuove forme di comunicazione, siamo tornati a creare, sono tornate le sfilate e la gente ha voglia di bello. Il consiglio che posso dare in questi momenti è di non mollare e di investire su se stessi per migliorare le proprie capacità.
Speaking of, thank you for that. Speaking of sustainability, Blaj, I just want to share, Schroders.com reported that Gen Z, anyone born between 1997 and 2012, is now the world's largest population group with 2.5 billion people. And as a member of Gen Z, what is important to you with regards to sustainability? What do you require of your brands? I mean, and this doesn't have to be prolific. It could just be, I just like it. Or what are your thoughts? Because everyone wants to talk about what Gen Z wants, what Gen Z thinks. I want to know from you directly your own personal thoughts about it.
So I want that diversity, the inclusiveness, the truth, the proud of myself. And I want to be the part of the fashion. I want to inspire other people and to be inspired by them, by people we have in common some things. There's a lot of talk now about the virtual world and technology and disability persons. This is the main problem, and I want to develop myself and try different things and make myself proud and and I'm glad to be here, not only as a teenager, but also as a disability person. And I hope that fashion can work with people with casual disabilities.
When you say disabilities, thank you for that. When you say disability, I hear innovation. And when I think of things being good for people and the planet, I think of disability, because if you start design with disability in mind, then you're going to remove fasteners that are inhibitive. You are going to make sure that design works. You know, you're going to maybe choose a dolman sleeve or a drop sleeve, something that's easy to get into if you hurt your shoulder and you can't quite get into the garment. So what are you excited about learning? And I'm going to start with you, Diana, because we've talked a lot about some of the issues. We've talked about some of the solutions that each of you are bringing to the industry as we transition, because I really feel like this is going to be a moment that when people look back, they're going to say, this is when the fashion industry began to, really shift. What are you excited about learning or being able to? Is there anything that you're looking at and you're like, I really am excited about learning this and bringing it to my faculty and my students? What's that thing for you, Diana?
Well, there are many things. For sure, it is everything you were already saying about the digital evolution or revolution. I mean, there are like so many things going on which are like super interesting. Only that we see like, how our reality is shifting. We are going into IE, we're going into virtual augmented reality, how you can perceive art shows now through augmented reality. And with that, all the possibilities and upcycling, recycling, and re-economy, for example, also, which changes in terms of sustainability. But what's possible for our students, how to express themselves, for example, because we love to draw on paper, because it's like, as a designer and as a fashion designer, it's just where everything begins. But see its evolution through Procreate or Clove 3D becoming like its own thing, and to get into hyper realities with that, and with that into 3D models that before that you had to work for hours and hours on on your pattern, and then on your drapings on the mannequin. So now you can get like so quickly your visuals together to also more quicker apply your creativity, because you see the output immediately, no? So that is really, really interesting. Nevertheless, again, me as a designer, I would always advocate that to have a really good equilibrium between heritage, craftsmanship, and innovation. Because when we talk about sustainability, it's also like cultural sustainability and also sustainability of people who are actually they're making beautiful art and using craftsmanship in terms of embroidery and handloom weaving, and there are like so many beautiful things that I would not see disappearing, but I find it interesting how these two things can come together. So it's like there are some application points where it's interesting going in the digital world, but it's also beautiful to have like in terms of sustainability also of people in their crafts, seeing how that can be sustained in continuing to make these things relive. And it doesn't mean that they can't meet each other, because
right.
Do like beautiful embroideries, hand embroideries combined with 3D printed elements in it, and so on. So for me, the interesting thing is maybe how everything goes in the direction, yes, sustainability, and also being inclusive designs, adaptive designs, and so on, but not forgetting also where, for example, in fashion design and craftsmanship, we're coming from, and sustaining the people who are still living to continue their art form.
I agree with you. And one of the things about sustainability in my mind, classic silhouettes. I mean, and I'm thinking from my work as a stylist for people with disabilities, I generally go to classic silhouettes. I think what you're saying is we don't have to lose beauty. And what I love about what I feel is the future of sustainability. I've been interested in kind of on my own as a hobby studying fashion futures since the early 2000s. And one of the things that I've noticed is that as fashion is becoming more local, and we can have those special pieces like Min was saying. He doesn't want everyone to have tons of the jewelry that he's making. But I think having the idea of the special piece, something that you look at and you love in your closet, I think that is the beauty of sustainability, because no, you don't want to lose the craftsmanship. And I don't ever want to give that impression. I think that that's what we all love about it, right? That it is something creative and a way to express ourselves. So since we're a little bit over maybe we have like 10 minutes left, I just want to check in with everyone else and see what you are excited about learning. Blaj, what are you excited about learning? And let's talk about your modeling a little bit, because we haven't really delved into that. What are you excited about learning in your new career or experiencing in your new career?
Okay. My career in modeling is something new for me, and I'm still learning. But I like that me with my agency, we go out of the typical scheme and standards, yeah, and we show that we shouldn't be ashamed of who we are, and being different is something normal. Yes, and I'm happy that my agency is represent also a normal person and a person like me, and I can do and be there and develop myself. And like I said, this is something new for me, and I don't have a very knowledge about this, and yeah, I'm still learning. And what I like the most about fashion and agency is that I can express myself. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think that's great, self-expression. And I'm looking forward to the day where people understand that normal is normal. I'm going to give you an example. 4 fingers, 1 thumb. That's normal for me. 4 fingers, no thumb. That's normal for me. Normal is whatever we are. I'm born this way. You're right. So I absolutely see you as normal, even within the space of the agency, which is Pinocchio. Am I correct?
Yes, Pinocchio models.
Pinocchio models.
Pinocchio models, yeah.
Min, what are you excited about learning?
Actually, for me, I'm really interested in the new technologies, and how to use the new technologies, because I think if in 5 years before we didn't try to use 3D printing and some new software like ZBrush to build the models, for today I don't know how to make the processes for Xiaoyang. So I think the technology will help us to give me a lot of solution for some problems, and can let me to express my idea. So that is what I will see and I'm interested in.
All right. And Leanne, bring us home. What are you interested in learning about? Because I think that leaders are learners. The best leaders are always lifelong learners.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that listening is the most important thing. I think constantly, because now we do live in a global reality, the fact that we're speaking all from different time zones, it's just wonderful. It feels like we're in the sci-fi future that as a child I dreamed of, beam me up, Scotty. It feels like we're in that. And that is the exciting thing, I think, about our future, is that we are all now talking, we're in a panel and we're at different sides of the globe, and we're talking about things that not only we care about, but the CFS and Labico cared enough to create a panel, and that wouldn't have happened a couple of years ago. And I think that's what's super exciting about our new futures, is that it is inclusive, it is diverse, and it is sustainable, because we're all talking about it. And for us and what we're doing at the Institute of Digital Fashion, it really is the backbone of our thinking, our ethos, and our community, and the teams that we're working with. And the fashion industry and the world are starting to listen and realize exactly as you said, like normal is normal to me, normal to you. And I think that's a really eloquent way of like showing and describing it, is that we're all superheroes and we're all normal, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to the industry, I think that what you were saying, Diana, about the IRL and URL working in unison, we can't negate our physical worlds, and I think now is a really, really pivotal time. We've had this seismic shift where everyone's looked at technology, and it's how the two incubate each other. And I think it's desperately exciting. When these are wearables is when it actually happens.
Ho lavorato e lavoro per grandi marchi conosciuti in tutto il mondo che hanno creato storia e tradizione della moda. Questo è il mio punto di partenza per la mia ispirazione. Sono ispirato anche dall'entusiasmo degli stilisti quando disegnano e mi ispirano le nuove idee per le nuove collezioni. Chi fa questo lavoro con passione deve sapere che non c'è un punto d'arrivo, e questa mentalità ti porta ad apprendere sempre nuove cose, a vedere il lavoro da diverse prospettive ed evolvere con ogni esperienza.
Yes, Leanne, Min, Blaj, Diana, it has been an honor. I enjoyed stalking you online and reading about you before I came in today. I wanted to know more about your work and learn about what motivates you. And I just want to personally thank you for the work that you're doing, because although my work is in the space of really shifting the idea of what disability means, I think it all feeds into inclusivity and the idea that we can really change what that word means in a very positive way. And so thank you all for your work. Thank you for being here. And it has been a real honor. I've enjoyed having this conversation with you.
Thank
you so much, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, honestly.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining the panel talks. Feel free to visit the galleries, the Impact Design Hub, and the Innovation Hub.